Welcome back to Sea Glass Archaeology, everybody. It's a mild March afternoon, and my kids are finally back in school after a long spring break. We had a lot of fun, and I'm so excited that we had that time together. But it's great to be back on the beach, and here I am on Tiny Beach. I'm looking for tinies on my knees, and then I looked up, and there's a marble right over here. This is so great because I haven't been able to get the first pick on this beach in the longest time. Everything is spread out like a blanket, and I'm looking for a lot of tinies, as I always am. And this beautiful treasure found me when I wasn't even expecting it. There were so many great low tides last week, but unfortunately, like I said, I was out with my kids. My son had the Cape Breton Cup hockey tournament and they won. And I'm so proud of that because in the championship game, he was voted player of the game with a shutout as the goalie. So we're off to the provincials in a couple of weeks. But right now I'm gonna sit here on the beach. I'm gonna pick some tinies, but I made another discovery that I wanna share with you right now. Have a look at this crazy artifact here, everybody. It looks like it's a claw or a talon from a really large animal, but I have found enough teeth in my life to know that this is actually a really well-worn cow tooth. It could even be a horse tooth. So I found this really cool tooth right where all the driftwood is, and I've had a few minutes to think about it, and you know my imagination, it really runs wild. It's kind of shaped like a fang, so I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if there was a picture of a vampire cow or a vampire horse somewhere on the internet that somebody's drawn? I know I'm not going to be the one to draw it, so hopefully someone's got the talent and the imagination before I found this really unique cow tooth. Now take a look at this prehistoric find, everybody. It's the remains or the imprint, the trace of a Carboniferous era forest that once stood right where I am about 280 to 330 million years ago. You know, something like this is great because a lot of the fossils I find are very brittle and they just crumble. But this one is really heavy sandstone, so I'm going to bring this into the sea glass shanty. I'm just going to put it on the floor. And then one day someone's going to come in and say, how much for that fossil? And I'm going to say, you know what? It's there just for you to take, and I knew one day you would come in, and I love to just share these. Take a look at the erosion process, everybody, and all of the glass that is making its way into the ocean. We've got milk bottles, we've got old gin. You know, I've showed this to everybody before, but this is the first time I've filmed in high definition. Here's some Depression era pink. It's even got some pattern on it that's very floral. This looks like it's some sort of a doorknob. Actually, it could be potentially a light fixture. Got some older ceramic, some nice colored ceramics. And it looks like we've got a square gin bottle, potentially a case gin bottle, which is kind of wild. And every single spring, as the water makes its way to the ocean, that's too bad that one wasn't intact. Here's a piece of old shoe leather, which is just wild. This looks a bit like a medicine. We got jadeite. So we've got all the colors and the spectrum of the sea glass rainbow. Take a look at this beautiful bottle over here. It just caught my attention. It's such a nice bright aqua blue color. I just wish all sea glass was this color. And then look right above it, there's an actual intact little 2-ounce Anison, like an aspirin type of a bottle. I want to say Anison because this is kind of the size and the style that those bottles were. There's a lot here that I wish I could dig through. But unfortunately, it's not that easy to get through with your bare hands. And I've dug so much here that I know that a lot of this is just going to be broken because it wasn't handled with care. Take a look at this, everybody. This thing's absolutely massive and it's blue. Wow. I mean, I find a lot of blues that are small, like little lids and little bottoms. This is the base of a bottle. Do we have a D here? I think we do. Okay, everybody, so I'm pretty sure that the D means that this was made in the Dominion Glass Company, and the E would tell us the factory or the area it was made in, and then the 1 would tell us the year, and the dot means it was a year afterwards. I'm gonna have to go online and confirm that that's the company who made this. Well, you know you're picking on a Canadian beach when you find one of these, everybody. Take a look, it's unreal, but it's a well-worn surf-tumbled hockey puck. And that's just so ironic because I was saying earlier that my son had won the Cape Breton Cup this weekend and now he gets to play in the provincials. You can really see how well worn it is, everybody. It's extremely reduced down in contrast to what a real one would have looked like. So maybe I'm gonna have to take this home and I'm gonna have to put it next to a real puck for all my friends that really aren't familiar with hockey out there and just show you how well worn this is. Here I am, everybody. I'm at the center 200, and I've got those two pucks. There's my boy Carson back there, and this is the one, yeah, this is the one that I found at the ocean, and this is the one that's really normal, made by the same company. Oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, man. Go ahead and shoot again. That's so fun here. So it's so much fun to film when I'm not on the shoreline, but I just wanted to show everybody how reduced this puck is. Let's see how good Carson's shot is. Is he gonna hit me right in the head? Ah. It's really a day for oddities out here on my shoreline, everybody. I'm not finding too much sea glass, but take a look at these weird bug eyes that I just recovered. Without a doubt, this is the pelvic area from some sort of a rubber doll. Now, it's crazy because I have found a lot of doll heads and a lot of doll arms in my life, but this is the first time that I found the spot where the two legs would have affixed, and it's really rubber here. Let me show you how bendy and flexible this is. So it's definitely not a new doll. It's probably something that's a little bit older. Over the years, I've found a lot of doll arms, legs, and even a few creepy heads. So get ready, I'm gonna put those doll heads in the video. They're a little bit freaky. Just hiding right over here, amidst all of the rocks and the seaweed, there's a beautiful well-aged nugget, probably the bottom of a bottle because it's so thick, nice and frosty. I'm collecting some driftwood because there's some good stuff, and then I came across this old bike pedal, so I figured I could share it with you. I'm gonna bring it home with me in the bag. And I'm also going to take this, which I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is a piece of a tape measure. We can see 79.80. So let's do something fun here. Let's take out that tooth that I found and let's measure it with the tape measure and see if it measures up. So I'm trying to line the tooth right up to 78, everybody. And we can see that this tooth is over 2.5 inches long. And that's pretty wild. So that would have to be one crazy vampire cow. There's so many strange oddities here on the shoreline today, everybody, and that's kind of what you should expect if you're picking on an old town dump, because you can see there's so much scrap behind me. Now, in one of the videos, somebody recently asked a question in the comments, and it's a really great question, and that's how do you identify an old town dump? And it's tough because in every different area, there would have been a different method for disposing. Of course, the first one would be right outside the back door of where the kitchen is. A lot of people would dump right out there or in the immediate woods behind their house. But in places like where I live, there was actually a designated area where people would bring it to. Now, if it's not in the archives, I would have to say, ask one of the elder people in your life. You can see the bugs are out, everybody, because it's a dump. But yeah, I would ask the elder people in my life where they used to go and dig for pennies. I know that's a strange question, but that's what people did in the old days. They'd go dig for pennies, then they'd go watch movies, they'd go buy penny candy. And that's kind of what people told me out here, that they used to dig for pennies right where I am picking for sea glass. Another way that I always love to find the pay streak of old bottles, because sometimes a sea glass beach is just formed by one family or a couple of families that lived right next to the ocean, and they just used it for disposal. So I like to follow the pay streak, and I like to follow the broken glass. So what I'm saying is, as the glass is getting sharper, typically that means that you're getting closer to the source of where it's all being fed into the ocean. So earlier in the video, I showed everybody the pay streak of all that broken glass that was discarded a few generations ago. And that's kind of what I like to look for when I'm down looking for a new spot and looking for the pay feed, is I try to find and follow the broken glass. And I find that typically the sharper that it gets as I go up the beach, the closer I'm getting to the spot where it was introduced. And if you imagine one bottle per person per week, then that's a lot of glass if you get into a larger proportion of where a whole town was doing it, or a whole bunch of people live next to the shoreline. So I hope that this information helps. It was a little bit too long for me to type out. Okay, everybody, so I'm pushed right up against the seaweed over here against the wall, and I'm so glad that the wave pushed me up, because I just found this massive triangle wedge, and without a doubt, it's gonna be the bottle bottom from a really, really old bottle. You know, a few years ago, I sold one, and it was really big like this. It was about 1880s, and I believe it was made in Spain. But somebody offered me my not-for-sale price of $120. They were so happy to snatch it up, and forever I have regret. You can see that it has no embossing on the bottom. There's definitely a lip on the inside, so we know without a doubt that this comes from a bottle. And what I'm going to do is, because I found that piece earlier today, that fragment, when I was over in the slurry of a broken bottle, we're going to put it together with this piece of a bottle bottom and see which one's thicker, and see if maybe this actually comes from a bottle that's comparative to that one. Okay, everybody, so I've got that sharp bottle bottom, and I've got my beautiful piece of sea glass right here in the scene, and you can see that they're not even close in size. So they come from very, very different things. Even though the circumference around the bottle is identical, I know without a doubt that these were made in very different time periods, and I'm so glad that I finally got rewarded for all these crazy cow teeth and oddities that I've been finding. But there's not that much shoreline to go through, everybody. So if hockey isn't your sport, then we've got a different one for you. It's a golf ball. The TV show Seinfeld continues to be one of the most well-loved and popular shows in the history of comedy. However, there's that one episode where Kramer's hitting golf balls out into the ocean, and it's a fantasy that I see far too often every single summer. People come out and they visit Cape Breton, and they probably visit coastal areas all over the world. And a lot of them who are golfers, they just dream about hitting golf balls into the sea. Now, right here at the high tide mark, I only found this one, but there's been days when I've come across dozens of them. So even if it is on your bucket list, everybody, if you're going out to a maritime area and you planned on hitting golf balls in the ocean, I'm begging you, please don't do it. Because you might actually hit that hole in one day, and this might land inside a blowhole and not on my beach. So I encounter hundreds, if not thousands, of ducks every single week when I'm out here on the shorelines and out in nature, but I've never seen a driftwood duck before. So I'm really going through the high tide pile here, everybody. I'm going through all the oddities and all the driftwood because I always need driftwood, and I came across this bone. It's one of the more unique bones that I've ever seen in my life. It almost looks like a pelvic bone, but I think it's a little too small to be a pelvic bone from a human. So it's a little creepy. If there's anybody out there that's seen this before, if you've encountered this, I'd really love to know. You know, I love to say that a lost soul can be recovered through spending therapeutic time down here on the shorelines. Many hours just letting the real world slip away and just contemplating the grand schemes of the universe and where we fit in it and how it's important to make the most of every day. So I'm going to take this to my shanty as well, and one day I'm going to give this lost soul a new home to the right person that it calls to. Beautiful piece of driftwood, everybody. Insects are burrowing holes into this to try and find a nice safe place to stay. Now it's going to be coming home with me. There hasn't been a lot of place to look for sea glass, everybody, because it's a quarter moon and it's high tide right now. But I'm really glad that I got out here and I got to explore, and I found some really unique stuff that I've never seen before. And that's the joy about beachcombing, is you can come to the same beach 10,000 times and you're always going to see something different. I just want to thank you all so much for all of the love and support. It's so great reading all the comments, and it's so great to be sharing all these amazing finds with you. I still want to get out of town and have some great adventures. I got a couple of months before my shop opens, and that high tide is really pushing me out of here. He says it's time to go home. It's time to take your finds and be happy with what you got. So I'm feeling extremely blessed that I got to share my day with you, everybody. Thanks so much for your love.